Next week, November the 19th, is the principals meeting. We asked you to bring some data related to recent curriculum-based assessments. Do you remember what you were supposed to do? This video will remind you about the expectations just in case you have forgotten, or if you've already finished your assignment, this video may validate some of the work that you've done. Lastly, if you've started but have run into some trouble, this video may provide you with some options or alternatives for processes that aren't working for you. Remember that the priorities for the 19th meeting is to bring your summary data. Those pages look like this. In order to complete those, you needed to use these worksheets. And the whole purpose, of course, is to think about students and how they're doing. If you don't have those forms or need to find extra copies, you can do that on the district website. The process works like this. You have to sign in, and once you've signed in and you click on the Employee Center, then you should be able to see this School Administration Information Share site, and that's where all the forms are. Now they're listed alphabetically, and all these have A's, so you have to click on More so that you can see the CBA forms. And here they are right here. Here's the summary report for 3-6, 6-8, or high school. That's a Word document, and it's going to look like this. Okay, seen that. Here's the worksheet, and it looks like this. Takes just a second to open up, download, print, save, whatever you want to do. Now, what is the data that you need? You can find that on DMAC, and the way you find that is you go to DMAC and you log in, and you have to click on Tech Score because these were CBAs, not state assessments. Then you click on Reports, and under your Campus tab, you want to run this demographic report. So let me just pick a campus real quick. You have to pick the CBA. These are math, reading, science, social studies. Let's pick science and report results by demographic. Click View, and there you go. The other reports are under the Teacher tab, and you kind of do it the same way. You find your test, you click the teachers that you want, and then you click Student Responses, Quintile if you want that one, and Results by Demographic, and you'll see all those reports that you need. On that worksheet, what you'll be asked to fill in is how many kids were tested, how many met the standard, and what the percentage was. You need to do that for all students, economically disadvantaged, and pick your 2 low groups to put on that worksheet. How do you find those from those reports? On the demographic report, the all students is at the top and the economically disadvantaged is somewhere in the middle. There's a little bit of a trick in identifying the 2 lowest groups. Sometimes you might see a percentage that's low. For example, this one was only 20% for American Indian, but there were only 5 kids. Is that enough to include on your report? The group might be too small. What about this one? Again, the percentage is pretty low, but there were a little bit more than 5 kids. Yeah, but dyslexia is not a group that's reported, so we don't have to worry about that one for this report. Let's take this one for example. What about LEP kids? We had 8 of those. Is that the right size? That's really for you to decide if 8 is a big enough group for your campus to consider. If you're on a small elementary, it would probably be very important. A large high school, maybe not so much. So just keep on looking until you find the right group that you think is going to work for you. For example, special ed. In this case, 40 kids is certainly enough to make a group, and that was one of the lowest percentages. So let's put that on this report. Remember, the next step is to fill in your teacher data. So from those reports, you can do exactly the same thing, but for each individual teacher. For example, let's say Alvarez, Brady, and Creek had this number, and this many kids that in the special ed category that passed. If you stopped right here, that would be really enough information to go ahead and fill in the summary report. And it might even be enough information to answer these parts of these questions. Question A asks, what did you learn? Maybe you could learn from this that Mrs. Creek has way too many special ed kids. She's got 32 and the others only have 7 total. Maybe you could get from this that you need a lot of support in special ed because only 8% of your kids passed. And maybe that would qualify for thinking about kids, and that would be enough. But there's also this extra part of that worksheet to ask you to identify specific kids that are high and low in each of these groups. The way we suggested doing that was with the spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet that you got sent looks kind of something like this. It's just a bunch of kids' names and which category they fall into. The drop-down arrows, remember, let you sort. For example, if I only want to see 7th graders, I can click off of 6 and 8 in this junior high example to see only 7th grade. If I only, from these kids, want to see the ones that are economically disadvantaged, I could go to that column and click off the blanks so that I see just the ones that have something filled in there. And then lastly, if I want to go see who in this group is special ed, I can click on that drop down, get rid of the kids with blanks, and then I have it filtered so that I can only see the students who are in 7th grade and economically disadvantaged and special ed. And then use this as your starting point of that list. Okay, here's the problem though. You still are going to have to, in order to fill in that form, you have to cross-reference. You have to take that information from the spreadsheet and compare it to the student response form that you got out of DMAC and figure out which of these kids are in which teacher's classes. For a lot of campuses, that's an awful lot of data that can be a real headache. In fact, if you're at a big high school or junior high or even a big elementary, this bottom part might be more trouble than it's worth to fill out. It might in fact just take you too much time and not give you enough good information or information that you can do anything with. But remember, the whole goal is just to dig a little deeper and to try and move from numbers and percentages to names of kids. So here are some other options if that's taking too much time that might help you. One option would be to simply ask teachers to send you some names of kids that you could put down in the bottom. But you know, some principals like to protect their teachers and don't want to ask them to do anything extra. So if that's not an option for you, here's another choice. You could just use a different report. You can go into DMAC and under the Student tab run a student quintile report. And that sort of looks like this. Then if you've already identified your two groups, maybe you could just go and highlight the kids in each group. Like in group A, we had this kid, that kid, a couple from over here. Now we're going to find the kids that were in group B, which would look like this. Some kids might be in both groups. Just so that you're putting the name of a kid in your mind. Here's another option. When you look at this summary report, before you get down to the kid level, maybe you just want to identify two areas or grades or subjects to focus on, and then get down to the kid level just for these areas. Maybe that would save you some time. If that doesn't even work for you, here's another idea. Just focus on 2 or 3 kids. Just literally find the names of 2 or 3 kids who took the benchmark, whose scores might be high or might be low, and just have a conversation with them. Maybe if you find a kid with a low score, you could just ask him, hey man, what's the deal? How come you didn't do so hot on this? Or a kid that had a really good score, ask him, what's your secret? You're obviously knocking the top out of this. Is there something that you see that your teachers like that helps you? The whole idea is, again, to just move from numbers to names, dig a little deeper. Maybe you've got another strategy that you could use rather than fill out the form. Just in summary, try and make this process work for you. And next week, just try and come ready with this summary report and answers to these 3 questions. What did you learn from this process? What actions are you taking? And what is the support that you need from the curriculum department? Thanks.